So, I'm scrolling on YouTube and I came across this video we're about to watch, which is actually, I found out is like pretty old, like it's over 10 years old. But I was like, who the heck is this guy? What? I didn't know what this was. Watch this.
This is probably going to be the most simplest one for you to answer, but what if you're wrong?
Well, what if I'm wrong? Anybody could be wrong. We could all be wrong about the flying spaghetti monster and the pink unicorn and the flying teapot. You happen to have been brought up in the Christian faith. You know what it's like not to believe in a particular faith because you're not a Muslim. You're not a Hindu. Why aren't you a Hindu? Because you happen to have been brought up in America, not in India. If you'd been brought up in India, you'd be a Hindu. If you were brought up in Denmark in the time of the Vikings, you'd be believing in Wotan and Thor. If you were brought up in classical Greece, you'd be believing in Zeus. If you were brought up in Central Africa, you'd be believing in the great Juju up the mountain. There's no particular reason to pick on the Judeo-Christian God in which, by the sheerest accident, you happen to have been brought up and ask me the question, what if I'm wrong? What if you're wrong about the great Juju at the bottom of the sea?
And then the people clap. Oh my gosh, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. I didn't know who this was, so I start looking this guy up. This guy's name is Richard Dawkins. He's supposed to be a smart guy. But because of the dumb things this guy says, there's a scripture in the Bible that says, professing to be wise. They're wise in their own eyes, not in God's eyes. Professing to be wise, they became fools. This guy has no idea what he's talking about. Oh my gosh, this is horrible. And then all the people clap, and I'm like, no. The person asks, what if you're wrong? If he's wrong, he's in some big trouble. If the person asking is a Christian and they're wrong, no big deal. They led a good life. But if you're wrong and you don't believe in Jesus, you have a huge problem. But this guy says, by sheer accident. No, God puts you on the earth in a specific moment in time, in a specific place for a reason. The Bible says it's so that you will seek Him. You exist to seek after God. That's not complicated. So he says it's an accident, and he says just because you've been brought up in America, you're a Christian. That's not true. You're not a specific religion because of where you live. That doesn't make any sense either. I wasn't a Christian, and when I became a Christian, I looked into that. I said, hey, hold on, let's stop, because my friends were turning Christians, and I did it because my friends did it, and I was like, wait a minute, how do I know they're right? Like that chick said, or I guess it was a girl, said, what if you're wrong? Well, what if I was wrong? What if my friends were wrong? So I went and investigated that. And I studied all the world's the major religions. There's quite a bit. I did like the major ones. And then I also questioned, is there a creator? Is there somebody that they call God? Maybe there's not. I don't know. I didn't know. So I started looking into all that type of stuff. And if you were to do the same thing I did, you'll come to the same conclusions if you really want to be honest with yourself. If you're too scared to do it because you're afraid of the outcome, then so be it. You're a coward. But I would encourage you, go ahead and look into that. If you do not believe that there is a creator, go search that and find out, who is the creator if there is one. But anyway, that dude right there, he does not say very smart things. That guy is not smart at all. That guy's terrible. So I started looking more into this guy, like, who is this guy? And I came across this clip. This just blows my mind, the stuff that comes out of this guy's mouth. Keep in mind, I didn't go to high school, and I find this guy stupid. That's saying quite a bit.
It is very mysterious how the universe came into being. It's a deeply mysterious and interesting question.
And can I just interrupt? It's an old question, a very old question. Thomas Aquinas in the 13th century was asking this same question. He said there must have been a time when no physical things existed, but something can't come from nothing. That was his view. It's just been repeated by us.
Something can come from nothing, and that's what physicists are now telling us.
Did you hear what he said? Something can come from nothing? Dude, Okay, a lot of people say, this is what a lot of people say against Christians. They don't believe in science. That doesn't make sense. Who the heck told you that? If, first of all, the word science, it's always changing. Not just the word, but science itself is always changing as it's learning. So you can't actually say something is a fact and then later on it changes. That means this wasn't a fact before. So you have to look into that stuff. The scientists make up theories based off of observations, and then they try and like repeat those things. That's what makes it, a fact. But it's not necessarily a fact because it's a fact here, but later on that might change. As, knowledge increases, you might find something different. Science will always point to a creator every single time, no matter what you're looking at. As science evolves and we get more technology involved in science, you find out how much more complex everything really was that they didn't know about before. And I'm not saying people in the past were dumb. I'm just saying they knew things were complex. People knew the brain was complex, space and the stars and the cosmos, stuff like that. DNA, but we couldn't see the DNA yet. You didn't have like microscopes and stuff yet. Once you started getting like, the Hubble and stuff like that, going to other planets and satellites looking at stuff and taking pictures, microscopes and all kinds of stuff like that, and all the computers that are able to analyze everything, you find out how much actually more complex everything is than you originally thought. It still points to a creator. That's why it's called creation. In science, you have three things that have to be together: time, space, and matter. They cannot exist without each other. So all three of them had to come into existence at the same time. Now, I personally don't believe in a Big Bang. Some Christians do, and they say God shot the gun. I personally don't believe in a Big Bang. God says he formed everything and made everything as he said it was to be. So he did it, and he set things in motion. But this dude right here says something can come from nothing. That doesn't make sense. And a lot of people make fun of Christians saying, well, we don't understand these things, so we just say there's a God. Well, that's not true either. There's so many proofs of God. Every time you look at how complex things are, there has to be a creator. And it doesn't make sense. Even in my little brain, right now there's 8 billion people on the planet. Nobody has the same fingerprints. That means we didn't all come from the same place. It's impossible. All the different species of plants and animals, it's impossible to not have a creator. And I'm not just copping out saying there's a creator just because we don't understand it. No, there has to be a creator. There has to be someone or something outside of time, space, and matter to create those things to exist together. There has to be. It's impossible for there not to be.
When you have matter and antimatter and you put them together, they cancel each other out and give rise to nothing.
Did you hear that? When you have matter and antimatter, when they come together, they give rise to nothing? That doesn't make sense. That's something. You have matter. That's something. That doesn't make any sense. This dude does not know what he's talking about.
What Lawrence Krauss is now suggesting is that if you start with nothing, the process can go into reverse and produce matter and antimatter.
What? You can start with nothing, go in reverse, and it becomes something? I gotta hear that again. That's just stupid.
Is that if you start with nothing, the process can go into reverse and produce matter and antimatter.
You can start with nothing, the process can go in reverse and create matter? Dude, if people believe this, they're dumber than I thought. This is stupid. This doesn't make any sense. This is crazy. If people really believe this, this is just insane.
Well, there are many troubles with Richard's teachings, but a fundamental one is that he dumbs down God and he soups up nothing.
So I don't agree with Catholics. Catholic religion is insanely satanic. It is of the devil itself. I mean, we could debate Catholicism all day. That's not why we're here. But that dude's wearing a collar. I'm assuming he's some type of Catholic because it called him a cardinal. I agree with him there, though. He's the other dude on the other side, the Dawkins dude, is dumbing down God. And then he's taking nothing and making it, this is something. Everything came from nothing. It doesn't make sense. It's backward. So I agree with the dude there.
You can quickly respond to that.
You can dispute exactly what's meant by nothing, but whatever it is, it's very, very simple. And why is that funny?
The people laugh. He gets mad. He's like, why are you laughing? Because he said, whatever nothing is, it's simple. Nothing's nothing. He's saying it's something. It's it's like you just want to grab the guy and go, what is wrong with you?
Is that funny?
Well, I think it's a bit funny to be trying to define nothing.
That's true. That is just, this guy right here. And I'm sure a lot of people listen to people like this. This guy's got problems. This guy really needs Jesus bad. And I'm hoping that through all these debates that he has and all the studies he does, that he'll finally come to the knowledge of the truth, that there is a creator and that he needs to serve him while he still has breath in his lungs. The Bible actually says people like this know for sure. They know without a doubt there's a creator, and they don't want to serve him because they want to continue their life as they want to continue.
You said in a speech famously that I think a case can be made that faith is one of the world's great evils, comparable to the smallpox virus, but harder to eradicate.
I do think that, yes. Because what I'm talking about there is faith, where faith means belief in something without evidence.
That's another misconception with non-Christians. And I don't fully blame them. I blame actual Christians when they can't answer a question. Well, you just got to have faith. The Bible defines faith as evidence of things unseen. There's things that you cannot see that there is evidence of. There's gravity. You can't physically see gravity with your eyes, but when you drop something, it falls. It's really there. There's evidence that it exists. You cannot see the wind with your eyes. I know we have like CFD and stuff. You can't see it with your eyes, but you can see the trees moving. You can see things getting blown around. Faith in the Bible is defined as evidence of things unseen. There's evidence of God everywhere. These people refuse to see it. But a lot of the times it's Christians making the word faith a bad word because they're like, you just got to have faith. And people think it's a blind faith. Christianity is not a blind faith. I know who I serve. I know who I follow. I know Jesus. I know my Creator, and I live to serve Him. There's evidence. You cannot deny the evidence. This is crazy.
Because if you believe something without evidence, then that justifies anything. You're no longer vulnerable to somebody coming back at you and saying, hang on a minute, let me argue the case. If you believe it without evidence, which is what faith is, then you don't argue the case. You say, no, I'm not arguing that case.
I agree with him here, though, because he's talking about blind faith, but then he actually interjects in there faith without evidence. I agree with that, though. If you just have a blind faith in something that you don't even have evidence for, yeah, that's wrong. That's bad. You don't believe in something that has no evidence.
Let me ask you this. Are all people who hold beliefs in God and in miracles and the supernatural, do you regard them all as intellectually inferior to you?
I regard those beliefs as intellectual nonsense I don't regard the individuals as intellectually inferior to me, because many of them palpably are not. If you go back in history, then all bets are off, because before Darwin, for example, it is not at all surprising that before Darwin people believed.
That's a crazy statement right there. It's not at all surprising that before Darwin, people believed in all kinds of things. I personally believe after Darwin, that's really what started this whole thing. I mean, it actually starts in the Garden of Eden, all these lies. But Darwin, he had no evidence of anything. He observed something and made up a theory, and people took it as fact. And when I went to school, in elementary school, they teach it as fact. They don't tell you, hey, this dude went to here, he had a theory, he made this up. They simply just teach it to you. This is the way man came to be. They don't tell you this is a theory. They just teach it. And you don't question it because you're just being taught. They don't tell you other sides. I think when you're in school, even if maybe you're in elementary school or junior high at least, they should give you different sides. Let you choose.
In all kinds of things which they wouldn't believe in now. There are many people, many scientists today who say they're religious.
That's a true statement right there. That scientists today say they're religious. A lot of scientists will say that. They don't always believe in the God of creation, but they do believe there is a creator. There has to be a creator. You look up a lot of different scientists, they do believe that. They'll say stuff like, there's such a complex design to this, the eye, the brain, DNA, flowers. They'll tell you that there's such a complex design, there has to be a creator. Now, they won't serve the regular God, not all of them anyway, but they do. That's what I was saying, science will always lead you to some type of creator. There has to be. It's impossible for there not to be.
They believe is in some sort of deistic God, some sort of intellectual spirit, some sort of creative intelligence that lay at the root of the universe, perhaps invented the laws of physics, something like that.
What he said there at the end, that's true. They believe that there's some type of God that created the laws of physics. I mean, he said it, but he won't believe it. That's crazy.